Greetings to you all, and to those of you who happen to be saints, I bid you shalom. I welcome you to this broadcast, one that has been certainly carefully planned and timed, because had I chosen to come to you before, it may not have been a good experience. There's quite a bit I have to do and still have to do in reference to dealing with this individual, Jermaine Figuera, even more so now. But I thank you for being here, and I'm certainly grateful that you are join me this evening for a established conversation. Please indicate to me whether you hear me clearly on YouTube and also on Facebook, where we stream on these two platforms. We've had quite a long day in upper quarantine in Region 6, and that is what work is all about. So it takes quite a bit. But yet, though I've started it this morning, covered maybe about 20 miles, we're still here because the work has to be done. There is work to be done, and we need to have these conversations. I am from Region 10, of course, and being one of the geographic candidates in Region 10, and one who would have been for the past 5 years standing and speaking for people not only of Region 10, but in Ghana in general, more so in my region and the town of Linden where I live, it's very important for me to speak to this member of parliament in Jermaine Figuera, who was a former member of parliament, who sat for years, as an opposition member of parliament, who sat for years and received duty-free concession for vehicles, who sat for years. My brother Theodore and all his greetings to the Forward Ghana Movement family. See us there. Greetings and thank you so much for being as faithful as you are and committed as you are to this cause, which is for us to have a different Guyana. An experience in our country today, our political culture does not mirror what we see now. We cannot live for another year. We should not be allowed to live for another year or made to live for another year under this dictatorial, elitist, criminal cabal called the PPP. I will address Jermaine Figuera, not because he's that relevant, but because his behavior in my community requires my redress. There is no way that I, as a taxpayer, as a Lindener, as a resident of Region 10, there is no way that I would allow him or anybody else to escape with the foolishness that he's done. They all could try it in Region 4, try it in Region 5, wherever you want to try it. Maybe you'll escape, but when it comes to where I live, and the fact that in my community I've been standing for so many years, not 2 weeks, not since the campaign started, came out on the road, for years, this man has failed to stand. And now he can stand on stages in my region, stages in Region 10, and give speeches about what the PPP has done and why you should vote for the PPP in my region. Well, tonight I will address you. And as painful as it is for me to even gather the thoughts to speak to one of his ilk, it is my responsibility to do so. Figuera is a colossal waste of time, a colossal failure. He is the embodiment of a disingenuous person. And that seems to be his trademark. This man, who for years I told you, I told Aubrey Norton, I told David Granger that this fella is trouble. I told you, I have no interest in PNC. I don't care about APNU anything. I've said that because anybody who has failed to stand up for my people, in terms of Guyanese people, anybody who sat and watched tyranny being meted out to Guyanese and you did nothing, or just try some cheap, stupid talk, I want nothing to do with you. Anyone who strategizes for years, and then when the campaign starts, you suddenly pop up and you have something to say. Listen to me. You cannot have my support. And I observed many a debate. This is these cars I was making Facebook have to censor my broadcast with this loud music on the street. I have observed for years how Amanza Walton Desir stood in the House of Assembly and how she spoke and the passion with which she spoke, especially when it came to the rights of Guyanese and how we live, the sanctity, the sovereignty of our nation, especially when she spoke to that disingenuous speaker called Nadir, who should have never been there in the first place, that biased, shameless creature. I took note of these things. I took note of where she stood when the teacher was standing. And she was never an educator, but she came to stand with teachers. I took note of things. And most importantly, I take note of the fact that instead of hopping to some big party like me, she said that it's better for us to start anew. I respect that. I value that. And I love it. The only thing that will save the trolls tonight is that my focus is on Figuera. But I don't respond to most trolls. But anyone from APN or PvP who ventures to this page, you have grace because of who I'm going to talk about. I recall doing what is called, or they call the COVID-19 situation. I recall that's when I became more public. That's when I came and said to the nation of this country that I would not sit in my home as a father and have my family witness my cowering or being afraid and bowing to Frank Anthony and his nonsense, or Fauci or anybody. My family saw, my son saw, my daughter saw that the father, their father went to the market square in Linden and stood alone to make it known to these people that I will not tolerate a finale. A 90% dunce person telling me that if I don't take a jab in here, I'm worse than a virus. He is too dense, semi-literate, incompetent, and dishonest to tell me anything of that nature. And that on the road. But before that, from March of 2020, when the madness of election started, I was broadcasting consistently about how wicked, how evil, how destructive political figures are in our country. And I said to you that I'm watching two parties abuse the Constitution, play around with it, and disregard it just to have their way. I said to you that I observed Claudia Singh, for example, knowing that she should and has the power to convene a meeting, including all commissioners, bring the one returning officer in person, as they call Mingo, have him present the statements of poll that he would have had. They have the same statements of poll, or should have the same in GCOM. Claudia Singh never once called Mingo. Instead, she played along with the game. And I'm promising you all in Guyana, I'm promising you that if I have any opportunity to function in whatever capacity I can, that may include dealing with the likes of Claudia Singh, you'll have to answer. You must answer to us as to why you didn't do what you should have done since 2020. I observed that Granger, being a president, agreed to do that which was unconstitutional. I don't know how Bassett Williams could be an attorney general. I couldn't advise Granger, or maybe didn't listen to you, that the only time you can go to what is called a recount is if there was a petition and the returning officer must grant that. First, they have to apply to the returning officer for a petition. Then, if he fails, the court will engage or entertain that. Thereafter, remember Janet Jagan? I sat and I watched, like many of you, the horror unfold in our country for 5 months. 5 months. I saw the Caribbean Court of Justice ruling that there's nothing called an invalid vote. Can you imagine? Can you fathom what we have to face now on the 1st of September? When Anil Nandlal, and you'll have to answer too, told Guyanese that there's nothing called an invalid vote. So every vote is valid. I spoke since March of 2020 to biometrics. Do you all hear me? Since March of 2020, I spoke to something called biometrics being used in elections. 5 years have passed, and Claudette Singh did not. The PPP failed to, and I told her to March, go on my page and find it, that they will never, the PPP, implement biometrics. You all thought I was kidding me. I told her who the riggers are. Did I lie? Well, you said I was lying then. Did I lie? 5 years have passed and the PPP did not implement biometrics in these elections. Let Barrett tell you all why. And this man has the face to say that if there's a blackout, voters will be disenfranchised. That's his excuse for not having biometrics in these elections. So our country is being governed by blackout, not power. The provision in our country is blackout, not generators. Blackouts. And because of these weak, wimpish, juvenile leaders, look at what has happened to us. In the Bahamas, it took 6 months for them to have biometrics. They will have it. In southern parts of Africa, 3 months, and they have it. We have a smaller population than Africa, most African nations. And Barrett is making a decision based on blackout. When they have two power ships, Barrett said that when you go to vote, there could be blackout. So don't have biometrics. That's the kind of evil, wicked people you have to deal with. And from 2020, I have said, from March of 2020, that you must have biometrics, or the PPP will rig every election that they can, since they are masters of rigging. I said it. Now here my 5 years later, and you said I was lying then. 5 years later, you have no biometrics, no scanning of your retina, no fingerprint. Scan your hand and that's it. One man, one vote. None of that. But I was present since then. And today in Upper Quarantine, a man, and I don't like normally, but I will do it tonight. A man of Indian descent, a young man said when they were introducing, sharing the flyers and so on, he said, I know the man. Listen to what he said. He said, I know this man. Since 2015, said he. 2020, this man has been out on the road, standing up for us. In Upper Quarantine, I tell you all that. Not Linden. He said since 2020 remembers my face as a person who was consistently speaking. I met people in the market in Riverton who said they remembered me from way back then, standing consistently. I received text messages today about how they remember. So that's why people are saying they don't need to see me on the road all the time. Even in Linden, you see, there are those who are counselors and others who have to come out now and speak on platforms because you weren't seeing them before. The likes of Figuiera, you weren't seeing him. Unless somebody sends something for the US, that's his foundation, and he distributes it, and that's supposed to be him doing community work. This disgraceful person, I'll focus on you. But I just want people to know how long I have been before Guyana, speaking to you all, moving through this country, speaking to matters of national interest. I sat on behind the screen here for the People's Movement show. With Melissa Ann Atwell, I said that we have to coalesce. Since then, I said it at the Screen Revolution. There must be unity. because the PP has gone to the next depth where they're using our money, $50,000, and there are but three different lobbying firms that they use to get people to do things to Guyanese just in their favor. And I said that we are supposed to be united. I traveled to and from London on numerous occasions. You all don't know that. Speaking to so many leaders of different parties, you don't know that. And guess what? I said it after a while that it seems as though we have to have five presidents at one time. So come September 2nd, you need to swear in five different people for us to be okay with coalescing. Because everybody wants to be in charge. I have been a consistent voice asking, and I have never been to meeting where I said I need to be anything, any position whatsoever. I've been asking, let us coalesce, let us unite to get rid of these wicked people. You heard one say, Azuddin said he's not coalescing with anybody. And that you ask me all the time, why aren't you coalescing? He said he's not doing it. What am I supposed to do? I sat with people who said that Guyanese would not learn a symbol. As the wheel came about after those meetings, and Guyanese leader said that they don't believe that their supporters can learn about a symbol in 3 months when you have phones. This is crazy. It's insanity, if you ask me. How selfish leaders can be in this nation. And I'm thankful for my sister, and for my brother, Amanza Walton, Nazir Dorin Bess, who were a different breed of people, had a different attitude, who were both prepared to say, we together, the three groups, will present a credible option, a healthy coalition. I sat with your leaders, some of y'all, and told them, we can lead at a round table, not a triangle. It doesn't matter who's president. We'll all be at the same table, making decisions for the whole country together. Somebody just a president as a figurehead. But let's show the country that we're united. Let's show Guyana that we love the country enough. And your leaders didn't accept that. So don't them talk me any coalition, anything. They refused to do it. You know why? Because they know that the president of this country earns 2.3 or more million dollars per month. In the first 6 months, Irfan was like a little child in a candy store, raked up a bill of almost $500 million traveling on the never see conferences to say, flying all over the place with on our money, airfare, hotels, his wife enjoying life. Figuera sat in the opposition and saw that. Figuera saw Charandas. And it's been said he may have been one. I don't know, but that's what people are saying. And I'm not going down that path. I'm saying what people said. Figuera saw the PPP manipulate. Figuera saw the PPP connect with the Canadian High Commission at that time, Lillian Chatterjee. And Chatterjee, she wasn't there, but a fellow was there, strategically got Charandas to the airport, out of the country. Figuera saw that. Figuera watched that. And now is telling Londoners that the best party for them is the PPP. That's what I'm talking to you. Because you are a disgrace to anything called Londoner. Get out of our town. And they right now to put you in anything. Imagine you left from being a member of parliament, not even being on a national list. Not even on a top up list. Because Jaguar knows that you're dead weight. You're a waste. And you're dishonest. You are a shameless man. Figuera saw that from the first time Irfan went in there, within days, within days, that bubble-bellied idiot, the one from the hospital, shut down an entire staff ambulance brigade, St. John. Shut it down. Everybody go home. Put them out of a job, back on the breadline. Figuera saw this. Figuera saw people who were on social security benefiting from the same. He saw that they were cut off. Figuera saw this. And this boy is now telling Londoners that you are better off under a dictatorial regime. Figuera saw where strategically, bit by bit, one by one, and this is a fact, African descendants were being removed out of NISIL, out of certain positions. Get out of here, get out. And they were replaced by Indo-Guyanese. That's a fact. And you tell me PP isn't racist, that's a fact. You all deal with it because I don't come here under any circumstance to play with you. So I'm not the kind of politician who, as you call them or whatever it is, who come to you and just want to sound nice. I come with the hard fact. That's why I love Amanda Walton Desir. I love Darwin Best. I love our Region 6 candidates, our Region 10 candidates, because we come to you with the truth, the whole truth, the hard truth, the cold truth. Deal with it. That's what Guyana needs. Honest people. Figuera saw the PPP violate even the law, disregard it, take gospel, drop it in the council without having anybody go through due process. Figuera did not join us in one day of protest because Figuera couldn't do it. Figuera saw when I went to the scheme, those you know in Linden will know I'm talking about, where I said, how in the world can you have one contractor from these bank and for every 10 contracts, he gets 8 or 9, and he's not from Linden. Figuera saw when I had to go to the scheme and he blocked the door for 3 months. People couldn't access by the bridge. And I said, this is more than enough. No more of this nonsense. Figuera didn't go to he lives in Wisma. And I left Mackenzie to go over to Wisma to protest where Figuera lives. All the while, he's receiving my and your taxpayer money and receiving duty-free concession and other benefits because he was the chairman of the public accounts committee, so you see benefits with that too. You don't know what I'm telling you. Whenever he has to travel, he has allowances to stay in a hotel, food meal allowance, or transportation allowance. So he was living like a fat cat. A teacher that is, don't have to go to school, benefiting all around, eating all the cookie jars. And I had to leave Mackenzie to go over to where he is to protest and tell Barjagli and y'all how wicked you are that you got somebody outside of Linden having contracts. And I just said, what happened to Ono Construction? Because I know it's from Linden. Then they took what they call shame on the eye and began to issue contracts to that company. Figuera also saw, I'm telling you things you saw, Figuera, that the PPP removed the Mackenzie Wisma Bridge from the list of items that were supposed to be an agenda for development in Linden. This boy saw. This boy saw that they took the bridge, that same bridge you see Edgel walking on, huh? And if you want to talk about they built it, they took the bridge off of the budget, removed it completely. I said, we're not building any bridge, you'll stay with the one you have. This boy saw that while he was in Parliament, while he was in the House of Assembly, he saw that. And this shameless creature is now telling you that development has come to Linden. When the PPP took off the bridge, said they're not building any bridge, it took the UK to say, if we funding the Mabura Highway, the PPP didn't build Mabura Highway, by the way. The funding came on the PNC, and that's a fact, on the APNU. The four-lane highway that's supposed to be built to Mabura, the PPP wanted to not have a bridge. They said they wanted to divert it by the way, because if Linden now is blocking the bridge, carry it somewhere else. Figueira know that. He knows that. And the people said the contract was signed for the road to come through Linden, and it shall come through Linden. So that's it. They want to kick to Bartica. Talk to me, you liar. They said you can't have four lanes or this broad road coming, a new road coming down from Mabura. And when you hit the Mackenzie Bridge, the Mackenzie Region Bridge, that's the condition of the bridge. We don't want it. So that's when they have to put it back onto the table, because the Europeans said, if you don't have a bridge, we're not funding this road. That's essentially what the argument would have been to some extent. And this boy has the nerve to say that the PPP is better when they refuse to give them a bridge unless the Europeans, until the Europeans said they have to do it. This boy saw Tomba Highway that they boasted in the PPP that trucks would be coming from Brazil by the hundreds because of the Port Harbor and so on. But they gave us a two-lane highway that's resurfaced, not new. They dig up to Burnham's layer and put crusher run, put asphalt and call it a new highway. It's a resurfaced structure. Where the undulations, they left it. And I'll show you when I'm going back to Linden that there's still undulations on the new highway, because you don't solve problems unless you go underground. I told Barrett, who of course is not an engineer, who's not a contractor, who doesn't even know how to build a case of common sense. He had hands in Skeldon factory and he can't produce 1 pound of sugar till today. 1 kilogram of sugar with 2.2 pounds until this day. Until now. That's failure. Barrett Jagdev cannot name one project that he's ever implemented in this country that succeeded, apart from stealing and crookery, lying, and having people in this country defending criminal behaviors. But apart from that, tell me one thing he ever did. Figueera saw that. Quarantine is getting a 4-lane highway. West Demerara, 4-lane highway. East coast of Demerara, 4 on the main road, 4 on the inside. 8 lanes or 6 lanes. Linden, 2. The same 2 you always had. And this boy has the nerve to tell you that that's best for Linden. If these were the days that we could chase you out, boy, you've been gone long. You lucky Linden has changed. You lucky that these days are different, because I know Linden people. I born there. We would have run you out so long you wouldn't believe it. Because you're a disgrace. When there should be at least 6 lanes on the Linden Highway, minimum, not 4. Because you have to look at the future. The next 20 years, you will not have enough vehicles. You don't have on the highway. But they don't build futuristically. What they will do, if you put them back there for the next 5 years, they'll excavate the same highway and say we build another one. That's how wicked they are, because they have to find things to steal from in terms of public works. And we'll get to that if time permits. Figueera saw that. The pig man, who had some initiative, I think Granger launched. To this day, I don't know what happened to the pigs. The last I heard, the pigs are all grazing somewhere. Figueira saw nurses standing when Rudy Small disrespected them. And they won the case, by the way, in court. But they get away at night to go with man. And this boy saw how our nurses were treated. Forgive us all. Let's go to COVID. Figueera saw when Region 6 hospitals were all open, Region 3 open, Region 4 open. Same COVID situation. Region 10, which has the lowest rate of mortality and the lowest rate of incidence for SARS-CoV-2 or COVID-19, they decided to lock the hospital gate, lock the nurses out, lock doctors out. Patients are locked in with nobody take care of them. And Figueira was the member of parliament. When the people blocked the bridge because they locked the hospital gate, he was trapped in traffic. He didn't come to protest with anybody. He couldn't go home across the river. So he walked up to me and said, "What's going on?" And found out what happened. Well, since you want to hop on the other side, I'm going to talk tonight. I'll save it before I save it tonight. You said that you and Ali are cool because you're in parliament for years. You could call him anytime. And he could talk to Frank. That's all the people should know what you are. Not that Ali is the person who has us in this situation. You're cool. You're all right. And you can call him anytime. And you call him in my presence. To negotiate. Lyndon should have known since then that you cool with the man who was oppressing the community. You're all boys. You went back to parliament. Harman was out. Aubrey came in. You saw that for all those years, a chief justice and a chancellor of the judiciary were acting two African ladies, and Afanali refused to, blatantly refused to confirm either of them. You saw that. You saw that Afanali refused to constitute the judicial commission. So judges and others couldn't be appointed for years. You saw that because I told you all that if the ERC has a problem, that's why they couldn't charge anybody. And you have to appeal, there's no commission. So they couldn't appoint the arbiter for the Ethnic Relations Commission. You knew that. I never mentioned in the House Assembly to fight for it. But something began to happen that was very interesting to me. Contracts, because the PPP figured out that there's a way to steal money because the oil money was flowing since December. So when they got in there, the oil began to pump more and more, and they figured out that against this oil wealth, they could borrow money like crazy. So they said there has to be a way where they can steal and enrich themselves and their friends. Because ministers know that they're not supposed to have contracts, but they have friends and they have people they can call up and say, "Hey, listen, do this, and make a company, your company fast." And they were rushing to form companies like crazy. Then they got a plan, do that thing. Contracts are being doled out. They started in Region 6. You got 5 roads, you got 6 roads, you got 10 roads, all below the value of what you have to tender for. All emergency work. But if you give 10 contracts at $10 million each, is $60 million. And what they did was we now found out, because I told you all this is happening, for every 1 km of road, or let's say 3 miles, some of you relate better to that, the PPP was spending for every 1 km of road, every 1,000 meters of road, the PPP was spending $412 million more for asphaltic roads than any other country in the Caribbean. 412 million more. So imagine how many roads you could have been getting. $412 million more being spent for every 1 mile. So for 3 miles of road, for example, 5,000 km, look at how much we're spending. Billions of dollars were just disappearing like in front of a fan. So when you see certain PPP ministers gaining excessive wealth, it is because of what they did, what they knew, they calculated that they will add to the contract because it's a legal way to steal now. Say the road costs $1 billion, they're going to say, you know what? Uh, this road costs $1.4 billion. The 4 billion, the $400 million goes to share among the friends, and it's called profit. These are the wicked criminals you're dealing with. And then I had meetings with some of them, and they told me the big contracts is for the big boys. So the major highways, the two big boys get that. Y'all can figure out what I'm talking about. The major highways. That's why the Marconi one can't finish until now. The East Coast Highway wouldn't be finished in the next 2 or 3 years from now. Because the big boys have to have more money, and that's asphaltic road. So think about if you have 20,000 or 20 kilometers, 20,000 km of road. You think about how much money that is. If for every 1,000, they spend $412 million more. So Guyana is not saving. Guyana is bleeding financially to the PPP. Figuera is why am I telling you this? Because Figuera was the chairman of the Public Accounts Committee. This boy sat, this fella sat as the chairman. So he knows more than me. What I'm telling you all tonight. This fella, this boy, this creature sat as the chairman of the Public Accounts Committee in the House of Assembly. But his friend was the president. And people came to tell me that they know or they built roads for him. As a big business was going on. So these road contracts that started to come out began to expose a lot of friendships and a lot of dealings because people on the other side, some of them said, well, we can't sit and watch this go by. We don't get anything too. So because they're friends. So they were able to fashion arrangements and make arrangements and say, listen, man, my brother could do this. My friend could do this. My cousin, my sister, my dog, my parrot. Everybody could get contract. So at rallies now, Figuera is going on the stage and all he's talking about for the greater part is a contract. Don't forget that. Oh, we created 12, the PP created 1,200 contractors. Why? Why are you saying that, Figuera? Why is your focus so much on contracts in Linden? Huh? Why is your attention so much on contracts? We all know. So when they got rid of Harman, Norton came in. And Norton started out with Barrett is a demon, and he started making all these tough boy statements. And then he met with Sarah Ann Lynch. And he was never the same person. Never. He became an altar boy. One meeting, he wasn't the same person. And so one time he said, well, we're not going to shake, I'm not shaking the hands of my oppressors. And he wouldn't shake Ali's hand. And they said, okay, then it's like Norton catch himself. Why Norton said that Figuera was at Bay Rock. And if I said, Figgy, don't run for me, you know I'm a boy. Which is true. Because Figgy told me that. And Figuera shook and greeted hands and greeted Irfan. And when I spoke, I became an enemy. When I told you that Figuera is undermining the PNC, I really don't care about the PNC, but I tell you what he was doing. You didn't believe me. You didn't believe me. But when I listen to his speeches, which I don't, not all of, a part of it, Figuera in Parliament, you don't know what he's talking about because even when he writes beyond the rhetoric, as he call it, the rhetoric, this boy wouldn't speak plainly. He wouldn't be clear like me and tell the people y'all are wicked, you're demons because of who they are. No, he's he knows that people don't read much anyway. So he's well aware that what he's doing, people wouldn't pay attention to it. But he claims he's doing work for Linden. Where was the representation when persons were being locked out of the bank, couldn't get their money because they didn't take a PCR test for $25,000? So if I wanted to get 5,000 from my account, I had to pay 25,000. They put something up my nose, which was really meant for COVID testing, push it up my nostril, test it. And the PVP told you go to their friends, go to Sheriff, go to Balwant Singh, go to Woodlands, whoever is their associate, you go to they tell you where to go, not public hospital, to pay $25,000. And you know me, Figuera was in the House Assembly. Figuera never came to represent Guyanese to say, well, you're not supposed to deny a man the right to take his money out of a bank. What I got with COVID? Figuera was there when the people were telling us we couldn't do business at GRA. We couldn't pay our taxes. And if you don't pay, you get penalized. He was there. He was there and did nothing. And then wants to, but he represent Linden with what? Figuera doesn't understand what representation is. He was not representing anyone. Because when I stood, what was he doing? When Charles Ramsey came and unceremoniously took away the sports club, never told us what is going to be done there. Where was Figuera? I protested 3 times or 4 times or more. The police was sent to me in the sports club. You all saw that if you followed me. Figuera was nowhere to be found. Mind you, these are people who I would call. No, not him. Because I don't have time to call waste time. I would call other leaders, the regional chairman, the mayor, and others, and tell them where I'm going, what I'm going to do. I would inform them. I would tell some of these people, listen, I am going out there. Y'all look good. You come out there and I'll stand back. So y'all could look good. Not because I like the PNC, but represent the people. At least let people believe in doing something. I did that. Me. I said to them, listen, doc, I'm going to go. I say all the bad things. You come in front and you look good. They couldn't even show up them because somebody was saying, don't support London. Don't support, and you all want me to support APNE. When you all boycotted everything I did and undermined me, I don't understand how that made sense. I was telling y'all, I will stand and I will speak, and you come out there. You come out there, and I am going to stand, and y'all can take over. At least show the people you're doing something for your money. They did not do it. When I go to school after school, Mackenzie High School, other places, all around the place, calling them, listen, this school has a problem. They wouldn't show up. Never. When I say our children in this community are in danger, Figgy wouldn't show up. When I show live broadcasts of how dilapidated schools were, Figuera could not be found. And he's calling that representation. Well, what were you representing? What were you representing? Who were you representing? And with that, this boy, this fella, was sitting in the House of Assembly, earning our money, eating off our backs, receiving duty-free concession, and he was not representing his constituency. And I would always say to people that something is wrong with Figueroa, but they tell me, don't tear down this person, don't fight this, and don't do that. Well, why are you all fighting him now? When I told already what it's all about. So, Figueroa, Figueroa. was a member of parliament. He was in House Assembly receiving our money when this happened. Sanctioned, not just Mohammed and his father sanctioned, she was on the same list, same person, same group of people, same nefarious behavior. This lady here was receiving her salary, receiving her full benefits while being sanctioned. But Mohammed business closed down. Figuera was there. And Figuera never once launched a public protest for this behavior. This same person who said PPP is good. So this permanent secretary who's under the PPP receiving money while she's home, or do whatever she got to do. Figuera never once said that this is robbery, this is wickedness, this is wrong. This lady here. So tell me, please, how is the PPP? How are they good for Guyana if they have a sanctioned woman? Administrative leave is leave where you sent by an administrator to go home. So they cannot fire you. You have to be paid all your benefits because they told you to go home. You didn't apply for the leave. So May Thomas is receiving her full pay, full benefits, all of her money while she didn't have to work. And the PNC, led by Norton or the APNU, couldn't stage a protest to say, stop paying this woman our money or we shut this whole country down. They couldn't do that. Norton couldn't do that. Figuera couldn't do it because Figuera, again, is the head of the Public Accounts Committee. Any money being spent for public purposes, Figuera is supposed to know about it. And I have stretches to say that anybody spending money in any part of Guyana coming from the treasury, you're supposed to know about it. He was in the House Assembly all the time. They didn't believe me when I told you that Figuera is more for the PPP than he is for his own party. I told Norton, I told you, Aubrey Norton, because I know you're watching. I told you, this boy is a problem. And I commend Aubrey Norton because he told me I could say this publicly. Aubrey that's one thing I commend him for. Aubrey said he was sent to Linden to find two youthful leaders, two young leaders by Granger, sent him to find two leaders who can essentially be the future of the party and work therein. He went to Sharma, he went to Figuera. Aubrey Norton told me, and he said I could say this publicly. He said, I'm not taking secrets. That's what he said. And he said, he defended anyway. He said, Figuera. Sharma said, okay, he appreciates that. He would love to serve the country and so on. That's Sharma Solomon. Figuera asked Norton, what I get him? That's what Norton said to me. Because I called Norton and say, I am tired of this Figgy boy. What do you doing with this fella? This fella is just a disgrace to Region 10. Not APN, to me. He's a representative of Region 10. And he doesn't represent the things I speak about and Lyndon just complain about. What's he doing there? Norton said to me, understand who you're dealing with. This boy, he said the first time he went to have a conversation with Figuera, the first thing Figuera asked him was, what I get in? Not how can I serve? Not how can I serve my country? What can I do? And Norton said he told Figuera, you, this attitude isn't good for Guyana. This is not what we want. This is not what we want. So, not Granger still put him there, knowing what he gave. Figuera talked to Norton because of Norton. He talked about you publicly because that's what the conversation he had, and he swore by it. So I understand what was said to me. And you didn't give me much reason to doubt, by the way. For all those years, I was protesting. I was standing in the sun, standing in the rain, when they wanted to terrorize our people with medical tyranny, tell you to get fired for your job if you don't take a vaccine, all the rest of that kind of nonsense. I was standing for Guyanese. Where is it? Standing up for y'all without fear, without compromise. This was since 2021, I think it is, somewhere around there. Look, look here. There was no Figuera here. And that's when I was telling these people, you are representatives. Your people in India are being punished. Medical tyranny. Can you please stand up for them? Figuera couldn't be found. Let's talk about it tonight. Since you want to go on stage and talk, you should sit in your house and shut your mouth. That's what you should have done. But no, you want to come on and run your mouth, I'll come here and deal with you. Because you taken our money. You would have taken it for 5 years. What did you do for Linden? They came and took away the sports club. So it means then that we had no playground. Sports club gone, Beira gone. Figuera again saw Johnny Gravesani, one of the best coaches in the Caribbean, produce career champion after champion. Figuera saw that Charles Ramson came, invaded, took away, gone. The sports club. At least had to run on the road. They have suffered some shin splits and all that. Figuera saw this. He knew this and did nothing to represent them. I had to go fighting for the people. They had no ground to play on. Figuera again. I called him all night. Did not represent one athlete. And with all of these injustices being meted out against Londoners and people of Region 10, Figuera was in the House Assembly. Things became worse. When we saw a policeman chase a Londoner, running behind somebody, grabbed this boy and threw him in a van, shot him, threw him in a minivan. And then the Guyana Police Force issued a statement lying. Figuera was a member of parliament. The young men, the young men, a youth, remember that Charles Ramson is Minister of Youth, Culture, Youth and Sport. Figuera was the shadow minister of Culture, Youth and Sport. And a youth was gunned down by policemen. Youths, youths had no playground, no ground to play in London. Youths had no facilities to play in, no football facility. Football was killed in London. Couldn't enter any of the leagues, super leagues, in the done with. Figuera, the shadow minister. Well, you were worse than Ramson. You were the first shadow that's worse than the image, than the object. You are a shadow who is worse than the object because it isn't normal for me to see anybody's worse than Ramson. Ramson is the greatest failure of all in this country. There's no facilities ever finished in 5 years. None. Even sports hall is already. But this shadow saw a youth gunned down, Ronaldo Peters, tossed in a bus like a dog in Linden. The next morning, the young man, rightfully so, began to light tires in protest. Why did I say it's right? Because they didn't go kill any policemen. I prefer for them to light tires and go shoot up the police station. If you ask me, tires don't feel, and the road doesn't feel either. So they decided they'll do something that is, yes, expressing anger, but safe. They didn't kill anybody. They were burning tires on the road. Figuera was a member of parliament then too. And what the Figuera asked for? We demand a thorough investigation. Let's do his representation now. Not to go on the road and protest, not to do a broadcast and carry on bad, like me and they say my head and good. No, no, no. His response to that is we demand a thorough investigation. There should be an investigation launched. Because he can't talk. Remember now, contracts are being distributed. Major contracts being done. Multiple roads are being built. People boasting, oh, I built road for him, I built road for that one, I built road for... And I asked him to just tell us, have you ever had a road contract as a member of parliament? Just answer the question. Through another person, did you get a road contract? I know you won't answer the question, but answer it nonetheless. Figuera did not go out to protest. So, along with that, a young man came from Georgia to see his family, but he done a broadcast threatening something to the policeman. So, apparently, when the police saw him, one officer in khaki clothing had a tear gas launcher. He launches tear gas cans. When he was pointed out, according to the report we got, the young man was pointed out to by somebody else, a policeman. The police officer, Primus, lowered the tear gas launcher as far as we were told, and raised a gun and shot Keon Fudgenay in his eye. Killed him. He shot him in his eye and killed him. Blood on the road in Linden. Blood on our road. Shot people, he shot with pellets and all that. This is what the man who's standing on PPP stage in Region 10 said. And I want to read it to you all. When people became, they blocked the bridge now. They went wild because you slaughtering our people on the street. Police came to us with AK-47 assault rifles as if we are warriors. There's a war zone now. No bullhorn to disperse. Go back. Where's the law to this, by the way? The Police Act tells you how to disperse the crowd. No, no warning. No cell phone message sent to your phone dispersal. We have to use force, not lethal force, by the way. No water cannon brought anywhere. No. They came with live rounds and AK-47 assault rifles, killing machines. They came to us in England. Figuera, who's a member of parliament, said this because Ali had to meet with your family and Ronaldo's family at the guest house. So Figuera shook his hand. And of course, we said, what is wrong with you? How are you so crazy that you're going to shake the hand of people who just murdered the Londoners? Let me show you what Figuera said. When it comes to matters of state, being respectful and courteous to the head of state is a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer decision for me. It will always come naturally without isms and schisms. Let me read what this boy is saying to you on that. Let me read it, please. It says, natural for him to shake Figuera's hand. Let me continue. He said, deviating from shaking Ali's hand, who Ali sat in Georgetown, watching policemen shooting people, shooting at people, killing people on the street. And he didn't come to Linden. He was telling the family to come to town. When they shot and murdered our Lindener. Figuera, the representative of Linden, said, deviation from shaking Ali's hand, deviation from such basic norms like shaking Ali's hand should be saved for cases of collective national rebellion for just cause. Watch this, which does not currently exist in our country. This boy said this when the night after Keon was shot in his eye by a policeman and killed on the street. Figgy said there's no cause for rebellion. What are we rebelling for? Strangely, said Figuera. Again, my latest act of basic decency has yet again led to attacks from a few usual suspects. If we continue down this path of division, destruction, disunity, and injustice, where does it lead us? Who wins? MP Figuera. MP Figuera. He wasn't ashamed to include the handle MP Figuera. Saw no reason to have national protest, national rebellion against a system that is slaughtering our young men in Linden. No. So when we were going insane. Rage was bleeding out of us. Figueroa said there was no reason, no reason. And a fool, I saw this one idiot here who said that Fudge was threatening to kill the police. Threatening to kill the police doesn't mean kill the police, dummy. You're too big to be so stupid. A threat does not warrant death. He could have been arrested, not killed. You're too old to be so daft. If someone says, I'm going to kill the police tonight, the police don't come and shoot and kill you. Only in Ghana that foolishness happens, or the Wild West. What they're supposed to do is to approach the person, assess, and that was daytime. It wasn't dark. The person could have seen that he was unarmed. They could have seen he had no weapon, and then they could approach him and say, "Okay, then we saw that you threatened to kill the police. We have you arrested," and they didn't see anything. Threatening behavior doesn't warrant death. You're too old, I say again, to be so stupid. Get off my broadcast if you have anything sensible to say. There is no law that permits a policeman to shoot an unarmed person. None. 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 So this new culture where you believe the police can be sent to shoot people, sent to because they don't want to do it. They're forced to do it. That does not exist in our law. So in his hometown, across the river is in Wisma, people were shot. People were shot with pellets, live ammunition, shot at them, piercing his skin. And the young man was shot in his eye. Oh, yes, and they had a ball. Figueroa saw no reason for public rebellion. None. No reason for it. Mind you, he's in the opposition. Mind you, that Aubrey Norton and others were saying, well, listen, this is wrong. Figueroa says there's no reason. Why would we have national rebellion for what? We don't have to fight these people. It's okay. Figueroa failed to defend the right of a Guyanese. And it was not over. It wasn't over yet. A few days hence or thereafter, this became, this became, this right here is what Guyanese saw. That right there, these images, this right here, this, this came to us people. And we watched in horror, horrified, horrified.
Management. I said, we're going now with the cameras. There's a female washroom here. There's a bar here. The management explained to me that when you come and if you're going to use the pool, and as you can see, you see the pool here, clear. Like when the family said they went in the pool and check, everybody went in the pool and check. Normally, you ain't got to check if there's a body in this pool. You could see it because the pool is clear. Right? So, obviously the young lady, the 11-year-old who has gone missing from this place is not in this pool. Right? So I walking around, I look in, I talk to management before I talk to the mother and the father to make sure I have an inclusive story. Everybody knows what's going on, why it's going on and so on. Right? So you got the pool here.
This same fella was a member of parliament, Figuera. When he heard critics saying this foolishness, because I know he heard, this went viral. That man could not even represent a child who was murdered. Instead, he preserved his response for an opportunity to speak. He was waiting now to go to the House of Assembly to table, to propose something to protect our girls. He couldn't go to Tushan, where I was. I'm not a member of parliament. I wasn't paid to do anything. He couldn't drive to Tushan or go on a broadcast before a screen if he's out of Ghana because maybe he traveled somewhere, probably. But he couldn't find 1 minute to go on a screen to talk about the wickedness that we saw with Adriana Young and his boy. Remember his boy? Remember his friend? He said the body's right. And they call each other and they talk and so on. He could not go live to speak against this pathological, compulsive liar who sat before us and said this.
Today, as I said, was an important day in evaluating the circumstances and the death of Ariana. And I just want to briefly share with you what was shared with the police representative and shared with me. The forensic pathologists, as you know, as Frank said, were brief, and they started the work sometime around 1:20 p.m. That's when completing the procedure, the forensic pathologists rule out signs of physical and sexual trauma on Ms. Young's body. After careful deliberation, the team concluded that Ms. Young died as a result of drowning. Ms. Young's relatives were briefed following the examination and informed of the medical cause of death. Due to the state of the decomposition of Ms. Young's body, the pathologists were unable to provide an exact time of death. The relatives were also informed that the pathologists ruled out theories of forcible drowning or any other means of killing, followed by disposal of the body in water. So that was what
Figuera, Ali's boy. Remember, he said he and Ali are boys now. They because he came up the ranks together in politics. Figuera couldn't even go live to talk about this lying foolishness that you saw here. Figuera was member of parliament when people were arrested like cattle, rounded up, thrown before the magistrate, who denied them bail and said, "You're terrorists." Guyana produced over 25 or 30 terrorists in one day in this country because of the situation. And Figuera never once put his face on a broadcast to say one word about that. Figuera's boy was lying because Ali's boy. After all of this, people, when Nurse King said that well, she was there and the girl didn't drown, the girl was murdered. They arrested her, wanted bulletin. You were a terrorist. Held her as a terrorist. Put her through hell. This girl has lost her job. Figuera was a member of parliament. And given these atrocities, I have one more to show you the ice and the cake. This boy, this creature, now says, after all of this, after all of this, he now says that the best party to be in is the PPP. I want Londoners to hear me. This man, now those who went before is one thing, but after all of this, after people are now in jail, where a magistrate has totally ignored common sense. You know why Nurse King is out on bail? Because a judge said to the magistrate, to Ali Haq, to Shalimar, stop your nonsense. This girl has not committed anything called treason. What terrorism? What did she do to make her a terrorist? Yeah, Anna, she lied, all about this stuff. What did she do? Imagine these sick people in our country. Figuera would watch his brothers and sisters of African descent be incarcerated in a jail, being called terrorists, and a magistrate denying them bail. The utmost sign of racism. He saw it and he said, the PVP is the best party. In this environment, he says that's the best party for you to be in. When the policemen are being, Ali came again, his boy, remember his boy, showed up. Before that, let me talk about the forensic liars. One of them was hired as a private contractor. You go to jail in the US if you don't watch yourself. He came as a private contractor. The state never sent him anywhere. The other one, the state never sent anywhere either. So between the two of you, from New York and Delaware, tell the truth. Because you came here hired on a private contract to do business, not medical business. And Ali said that they told him the guy was in the pool all the time. Ali said that he would not bring the FBI here to investigate anything. For what? Instead, he bought a retired Canadian investigator who was worse than Ali, who said, listen, man, you have to have professional divers to find a girl in an 8-foot pool. In an 8 feet deep pool, you need professional divers. That's why they didn't find her. Ali paid our money to that fool, that criminal. And then Figuera is saying, Ali is the best person for Guyana. The best person, not Amanza. Vote for Irfan. Not a woman whose hands are clean and she's honest and decent. Give us Irfan. Give us 19 fraud charges, Ali. And I wonder why you're so close to a man who faced 19 fraud charges. And the court said that there's enough evidence for him to answer to all of them. $174 million worth of charges of illegal acts committed against us. Our money involved. And Ali Haq made him get off because she had to discontinue the charges since he's president. You won't forget. This man, and Jagdeo knows why he didn't give you one national opportunity. No national candidacy, no regional candidacy, because if they ever put you on any, I wanted them to put you there in Region 10. I wanted them to take that trace to put you to be a member of parliament potentially. You! But Barrett knows, at least one thing he has sense with, that you don't put donkey in horse race. You never put a donkey in a horse race. And you would not be a donkey who would do well in any race whatsoever, not even a donkey race. You're a disgrace. This man saw that the PPP did everything in their power to cover, to hide, and mask murderers in Adriana's case. He saw an assistant commissioner, no other person, responsible for one of the largest regions in reference to policing, Region 3. You saw that man lie, and you never condemned him. And you want to type about God? You have a perfect place, and that's in the PPP. You couldn't find a better party to go to. Because we would never accept you in for Ghana movement. We would have never taken you there. We have clean hands, not like y'all. Go to where you belong. But you going up on stages to talk about in Linden that they must not listen to the rhetoric and propaganda. You are propaganda. You're the embodiment of propaganda. And disingenuous behaviors. This is the ice on the cake before I go to my bed and rest my own head. This right here.
In this category is from Isabel Young and Belle Cushing of Vice News with Undercover in Guyana. The judges were very impressed that Isabel Young went undercover in this fresh and extraordinary piece of journalism to expose how corruption in Guyana goes to the very top of government, and how she then fearlessly confronted the Guyanese vice president on camera about his own apparent corrupt dealings on huge multinational projects. The undercover nature of this story was sometimes scary to watch, but the payoff at the end was astonishing. One judge said, one of the best TV investigative reports I've ever seen. May I now invite Francine Lacroix to reveal the winner.
So the winners of the financial and economic story of the year are Isabel Young and Belle Cushing for Vice News with Undercover in Guyana.
Me and my colleague, who we'll call Mr. Chan, presented ourselves as investors looking to get involved in mining, logging and construction. We spent weeks working our way into elite business circles and captured conversations we wouldn't normally have heard. Eventually, we were welcomed to a private country retreat where we met influential business people, including one timber exporter who offered us advice on how to best work the system.
Everything on the table. 反正这种国家都是这样的，最怕的不谈，你谈他谈就掉了。
跟谁的关系是最重要的？总统还是？
怎么讲呢？你和副总统关系好的，基本上没问题了。你不用总统啊，副总统你就什么那个打扰我，打电话。我都唔驚啊你。
This award was issued to the news reporter and our producer, who Figgy's boy Refund said is a wannabe journalist. She's not a journalist of any credibility. This woman doesn't know anything about journalism. When she exposed Isabella Young, the corruption in the PPP, and according to the report, Jagdeo is not a vice president. Barra Jagdeo. Sue. This lady, Refund, instead of firing Barra, launching an investigation, an inquiry into the criminal conduct about this city report, Refund said the woman is a wannabe journalist. She's not real journalist indeed. She's just trying something and she has no credibility. Imagine Refund, Figgy's boy, could have the credibility. Figuiera was a member of parliament when the Vice News report was published. Was aired. And Figuiera never once went to the street to protest that Barra Jagdeo has to be investigated. Never once. Now, I would like to think that when the woman got awarded the other evening for doing such an amazing work, which the producer, one judge said that that's the best investigation ever. I thought Figueroa would have said, this ends my campaign with the PPP because after all, the journalist has been proven to be most credible. No. Figueroa says, you all vote for the PPP because they give us, what have they done for you? What has Apple done for you, the person? This is not about representation anymore. This is about selfish ambition, where the only person I will vote for is when they do something for, the one who does something for me. Guyana is led by what are called representatives. We are led by a system that is called proportional representation. That's how you gain access to parliament. Now, we're supposed to be represented by members of parliament who listen to us, and they form laws, they have policies enacted, and if they're cabinet members, of course, they serve in ministries to ensure that they have oversight of policies so that all of Guyana can thrive. Figueira instead is saying the contractors, you all celebrate because they made you wealthy. So the poor man who didn't get a contract, what does he do? That mother who cannot have a contract, what does she do? And where do we have the culture in this country where anybody just gets a contract and it's not about competence anymore? I told her, Lyndon, I was here to help you. Others should have been there to help you. And that's what we're about. We help you up. Not give you some of them Barak has enough to come and say he has a problem with study. Well, are you? You should be one of the people who call yourself stupid. You should be in the front of the mirror and say, listen, Ghana has some real stupid people. You go in front of the mirror, Barrett, and look at yourself and say, Ghana has some very stupid people. Because you give people who are incompetent the contract, then say they're doing bad work. What is wrong with y'all? We are saying to you without reservation that you will have systems in place, we, for Ghana Movement, to ensure that work is done to the highest standard. We'll help you to form businesses, help you to be trained, help you to be guided by, mentored by contractors so they can help you. That's the job of of politicians who serve in representative capacities. To make provision for you to be better, to be upgraded. Because the road we have to all benefit. That's why I work on the road, by the way. You know, I took contract to build the road, I told you that, to serve my community. At least there'll be 2 or 1 or whatever road is that is built properly. At the same time, the contractors in Linden who call me and ask me for advice, and I talk to them. If I see something, I say, listen, ensure you do this first, do that afterwards, ensure you said this, because I have to help my people. It's our roads. Instead of Figuera fighting against the corruption, the wickedness, the ills, where policemen are, all soldiers at the border have food to eat. Policemen are being, Ali went and broke the law. I'll promote all of y'all. He knows he can't do that, or he should know. This comes from the Commissioner of Police or the Police Service Commission. He violated the law yet again, and he says, yes, we're doing a lot for y'all. We're doing a lot for y'all. Vote for us. Figuera, you and the others are a stage full of disgraceful people. And it's important to note, as a Lindoner and one of Region 10 and all of Guyana, that these people who would sit there and enjoy the benefits and privileges of the House of Assembly have the mind to be on one side saying, y'all are bad, y'all are this, y'all are that, and then walk across, go on the other side and say, well, these are good, these are excellent. You are dishonest, you are disingenuous, and your characteristics point to that of the ilk of the PPP, where you are no less corrupt and you're no less evil, just like the one who's accused, just like the one who is accused. And she has been very somber. I never call you she or he, well, you're she for me all the time. There's a report out that a certain minister sold a piece of land for $1 million US. Well, how much is $1 million US? 208 million Ghana dollars for one piece of land that they put the people of Maka off of the land for, that they bulldoze the land and at least they didn't want to pay a week. That it appears if you don't know what happened. Well, there's a report out that a minister responsible for housing got this value, 208 million. Which one of us is Guyanese? Which one of us as a Guyanese, according to this report, could have paid this kind of money? Huh? Which one of us? These people are so wicked that they have decided that they're going to utilize our land to enrich themselves and our taxpaying dollars to enrich themselves. You need to go to the place that be designed for only y'all. I say to you, yet again, pray to all of the gods you can find. and hope that Forward Ghana movement is not given the opportunity to lead this country, because you'll be held to such high account, that they won't be able to save you. Figuera, you are in the right place. But while you're there, should there be any truth that you receive contracts while you are a member of parliament, you pay back every cent of it, along with answering a court of law for dereliction of duty and receiving money for what you should not, when you should not have done so. Just take note. Just take note that if ever we find out that you, as a member of parliament, would have received contracts through any family member, anybody else, you'll have to pay us back our money. Any land that was sold by all these fancy arrangements you all see here, these wicked, corrupt arrangements, you will give us, the people of Ghana, back their money, and you'll spend quite a long time of your life in jail if you don't have the death penalty instituted. Because you don't get away with anything in this country. If anybody would have been murdered along the way with your foolishness, you have to answer in a court of law for that as well. Any land, any and every, I don't care what building is on it. We don't care what you build on it. Any plot of land that would have been gained by illegal or means that point to your bullying Guyanese, harassing Guyanese, or disenfranchising Guyanese, it will be taken from you. All of it. It is called appropriation. You're not going to enjoy life in this country being a criminal and being corrupt. So begin to move your assets around. Do all you want. We'll find it and we'll find you. Guyanese, my fellow Londoners, I pray that this broadcast finds you, would have found you, in a posture of desiring different for Guyana, in a posture of recognizing that none of them, Darwin Best, Amanz Walton Nazir, Joshua Bissoon, Rollins, or sisters from Farnham from Region 1, there is nobody, there is no one, Francis Michael Bailey, there is nobody on our list who you could point a finger to, Mr. Nicholas Chesney, all of them. You can't point one toenail to them to say they're really corrupt. And we got a bribe from you all. Nothing can be pointed to our hands, and I'm thankful for that. I don't knock on wood. Because if anyone is found to be corrupt in Forward Ghana movement, they too will be dealt with. Don't feel there's no get because I know you business here. This country has to be led by people who are honest and who are decent and upright. I don't play political games. I don't play foolishness. Politics is not a dirty game for me. Politics is a game of is an act of responsibility. It's not a dirty game. It's a posture of responsibility. It's called governance, and I believe in good governance. I don't play any game called politics. Abanza doesn't play politics. Darwin doesn't play politics. Francis definitely doesn't play politics. Mr. Bissoon, no. Ghani, no. We don't play politics over here. We deal with what is called responsible leadership. Responsible leadership. And if anyone at any time decides they want to hop onto the political dirty game train over here, you will be unceremoniously expelled, because I know who I'm dealing with. And I know why I would call her a sister of mine, because we don't tolerate that foolishness. You will do the right thing. You follow the right path. We'll have the constitution reformed, should others agree to do so. There'll be a national plan for Guyanese to see the country soar again, not hand out, hand up. and we'll have unity in this country as you've never seen before. Because Ghana is bleeding for honest leaders. Not who could call Irfan and say, man, I want to bring in a jet. Give me a little tax relief. We don't do that over here. Do well, my Ghanese brothers and sisters. Live well is what you should be doing. Much love. Bye-bye.